Now let's talk a little bit more about Medicaid and the qualification process. Basic level. I know you have this income test where you have to have for 2020 anyway, $2,349 a month of income. We also have this asset test where you have to have below $2,000 in assets, and it sounds relatively simple in the big picture, but these things get pretty complicated when you actually get into running these calculations. I was hoping you could tell us a little bit more about how the income test works and how it differs depending on whether you're single or married, and then we can get into some of the planning strategies surrounding that.
Okay, so for a single individual, they can only have $2,349 income from all sources. So that would include Social Security, pension, investment income, annuity income, whatever the source, it's going to be included. For a married couple, they only include the income of the person receiving Medicaid. They don't include income of what's called community spouse. So the institutionalized spouse is the Medicaid recipient, whether they're in an institution or not. The community spouse is the spouse not receiving Medicaid. And again, it doesn't matter whether they're in an institution or not. So they disregard the income of the community spouse. Now, when it comes to assets, they combine the assets of the institutional spouse, the assets of the community spouse. They all go into one pot. So in New Jersey, the institutionalized spouse is allowed to have $2,000, and the community spouse is allowed to have half of the countable assets not to exceed $128,420, I think it is this year. $640, $128,640.
Right.
That's the maximum. So if they had $200,000 of assets, she could only keep half, which would be $100,000. If they had $400,000, she can't keep half. There's a maximum of $128,640. And all these numbers are indexed to inflation, and they change every year.
So let's say whether I'm an individual or I'm married, I have $3,000 or $4,000 a month of income, but I'm a little bit over this monthly limit. What are my options? Do I simply not qualify, or is there something I can do in that situation?
In New Jersey, you can do something called a qualified income trust. We used to call it a Miller Trust. It was based on a case of Miller versus Ibarra in Colorado. So I actually did the first one in New Jersey. The concept is you take your excess income and you assign it irrevocably to a trust. So generally the problem is the person's receiving income from Social Security and a pension. Usually the Social Security is under the cap, but the pension puts them over. So all you need to do is assign the pension to the qualified income trust, and then it doesn't count as income. So typically you would have one of your children be the trustee of that trust. Every month they would get the money in, and every month they would pay the facility or the home health agency, and that solves the problem. So if you understand that, you weren't paying attention, because it doesn't really make any sense, but it works.
Right.
That's the important thing. Now, sometimes people have Social Security, which puts them over the cap. And if they have a pension under the cap, then you would assign a Social Security and keep the pension.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
And sometimes you have Social Security but no pension, but the Social Security puts you over the cap, in which event you have to assign the Social Security to the trust.
Right.